Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale, and I have one of my favorite guests back on the line. It's none other than Hazard. What's up, Hazard? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I saw you streaming the other day. You're back to streaming regularly, by the way. A link to his YouTube channel will be in the description below, guys. And you were playing like the weirdest graveyard deck I've seen in a while. It's with Giant Skeleton. You also have the Double Wizard, the Ice Wiz, and the E-Wiz in there. Tell us a little bit about the deck, and right now you're pretty high on ladder with it. You were like top 3 when I saw you, so maybe it took a loss or two in the meantime, but still super high on ladder with it. How does this deck work? Do you think that Giant Skeleton has a chance at being meta?
I definitely think it does have a chance. It's definitely only fits in very kind of niche archetypes where it suits in really well. But with Graveyard, it's super tanky. It's super good at tank for the Graveyard. And a lot of times you find it like it's super good on defense, especially with Ice Wiz NATO and stuff like that. So yeah, this deck potentially has a place in the meta, funny enough.
Wow, crazy. I never thought I'd see the day. It almost seems like you see that Giant Skeleton and it's automatically called an off-meta deck. And right now it's still probably that way, but who knows? Who knows? You've had a lot of success with it. So feel free to hop into a ladder match. We might have to do some editing because of wait time, guys, but we'll see you when we hop into the first match here.
All right. Right on. I think I played this guy yesterday, and yesterday I was on a pretty big win streak, so maybe I'll win this one. We'll see.
What would you say? So is people are not used to. So it looks like 3 muskies. So people are not used to necessarily playing Giant Skeleton so much. You know, maybe in 2v2. So like, how are you playing this deck compared to other graveyard decks? Like, what are the key differences in your opinion?
You can really rely on the Giant Skeleton a lot on defense. Like when they have a big push, normally you're gonna use your poison on regular graveyard decks, but here you can kind of just play it down as I just did. You know, I know it'll get value against the bar putt, and he'll need to defend with it with other units as well. So it should get a fairly decent elixir trade.
And I could be wrong there. He might be playing graveyard.
Yeah, no, I think he's probably playing graveyard.
Yeah.
Could be. Yeah, we'll see. Not bad poison value there. Get some chip damage on the tower.
Yeah, and
all
you
that
can't
shit
place.
dies if you
Yeah, you can't place anything else there. So it is graveyard. Hits you opposite lane.
Yeah, and here we really have a lot of graveyard counters. They're super nice. Barbaro, super versatile. As you all know, it can tank for the graveyard. It can also just defend against the graveyard and pretty much anything else in the game, realistically.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Is this the deck where you find like most of your big tower down moments come in double elixir or single elixir, or is it all just totally match dependent?
Definitely mostly in double elixir.
Okay.
Even sometimes in overtime. But like, you know, I had one match against a P.E.K.K.A deck yesterday when they went a little bit aggressive with like a minute left in overtime, and I was able to take basically like 1,500 off their tower just with one big ending push.
Gotcha.
So, you know, it definitely is like a fairly counter push heavy deck.
Okay. And I've noticed that the 2 times you played Giant Skeleton so far in this match has been behind the King Tower. Is that something that you find yourself doing a lot? Like, what percentage would you say, like, on average, you're playing Giant Skeleton at the bridge versus behind the King Tower?
It's definitely matchup dependent. Like, with a deck like his right now, it's kind of hard for my Giant Skeleton to get value if I just play at the bridge because he's got so many counters to it. He's got, like, the bar putt and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But normally, like, people don't have very good Giant Skeleton counters. So if they have to defend...
And it looks like we might have just lost Hazard there. But we can still see the match, which is good. So I'll take over by play until he comes back. Hazard, if you can hear me, we lost you on voice. But he's going in with a graveyard right now. Giant Skeleton, Barbarian Barrel to tank as well. Looks like this graveyard is going to get some connection. Even Giant Skeleton might get to the tower here for him. The opponent NATO's away, but not before like 6 skeletons are on that tower. So a really nice connection here for Hazard. We'll get Hazard back on voice, by the way, guys, in between matches here. So let's hope he can take away this victory. So a bar putt kind of resetting for the opponent here. And again, Giant Skeleton played aggressively there for Hazard at the bridge. And the thing that he was mentioning about Giant Skeleton, right, is that it's such a lane clogger. Like, if you're the opponent right now, what do? You can't really play much.
Hey, sorry, I'm back. I was commentating through that, but my computer actually lost connection, so we're back.
At least your game didn't lose connection there, so there we go.
For sure. I don't know how that happens. Maybe my Ethernet cord just messed up or something, but we're back.
It's all good, so you got to be feeling pretty good about this. He had like a kind of an emergency bar putt in the back there, and you do a good job.
This is playing super defensively right now.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he kind of has to. This is going to get a lot of damage from him right now.
Yeah.
But I still feel like that offensive poison was was justified in that he only has 600 damage left on his tower. So I'm almost winning, but we're not quite there yet.
This might be a really dumb question, Hazard, but you go in, but I'm not afraid of dumb questions here on the channel. I ask them all the time.
Yeah.
So you go in with a graveyard there. Oh, man. Both of you... okay, I'll let you handle this first.
All right, yeah.
I can't even concentrate on my questions, let alone you.
Oh, no.
No!
You barely got through.
Oh, man, that's going to do it.
Like one tick, yeah.
Oh, no! It is what it is. Let's go ahead and hop into match number 2, and hopefully we can get a dub there.
All right, we're in.
All right, here we go, guys. Into the match against Adrian P98.
Starting off, I've got a bit of a weird starting hand. I've got Barbarrow, which I'll probably cycle, but I also have Graveyard Poison and Giant Skeleton next card, so a bit awkward.
The question I wanted to ask is, Hazard, is sometimes I notice with pro graveyard players, such as yourself and the guy you were just playing, is that they'll place the graveyard down like surprisingly early, like even before a tank is guaranteed to have crossed over the bridge. Why is it so early on the graveyard sometimes?
It really just depends on situations, but sometimes it's good for the graveyard to tank for your support troops.
Okay.
And sometimes it's just like you don't want to leak elixir, or you want to be able to kind of surprise them if you know they don't have as much elixir and you know it's going to be harder for them to defend.
Okay.
You just kind of want to play it early. I mean, normally you want to tank for it, but it kind of just depends on your elixir, their elixir, like what they have in cycle for it. Obviously, if they have no counters in cycle, it's a pretty risk-free play to play it early. So, yeah.
With a deck like this, I'm imagining that you rarely, if ever, use like a naked graveyard solo.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. Here I have a pretty awkward cycle, so I'm actually going to go in for a graveyard push and help the Mega Minion clear up that baby dragon there.
Okay.
And I don't know, should I Giant Skeleton in this? Yeah, or I'll just use that. Bit of a strange cycle here, but we should be fine going to double.
Yep. And I think I'm losing you on voice.
Oh.
Okay, no, I got you. All right,
Okay,
okay.
cool. We're back. Nice.
All right,
Yeah, I don't know what's been going on.
So the first golem push, and here you go. You Giant Skeleton in the back, same lane. Is that generally standard procedure?
Yeah, sometimes you can play it at the bridge if they have like other support troops down, or especially if you have other support troops and you want to tank for those. But there, I had nothing else going on, so Giant Skeleton's back is just a fine play.
Okay. Is there ever a circumstance with this type of deck that you would hit like Bar Barrel Graveyard opposite lane when they drop a golem, or do you just want to focus on the lane they're coming in first?
Normally I would focus on the lane they're coming in, just because Giant Skeletons can get so much counter push value.
That's true. Okay. So pretty easy defense here. It looks like you're just comboing the NATO with the dying Giant Skeleton most of the time.
Yeah, and actually I am going for a little bit of a push here.
Okay.
I thought he would play Lumberjack a bit earlier, so I didn't go for Graveyard immediately. But I still should have pretty good offensive value. He's got like no elixir here.
Yeah, I think if you can keep this Mega Minion alive, it'd be huge, I think.
Yeah. Don't think it'll connect to tower, but
yeah.
I'm up a lot of elixir here.
Yeah, you are.
Nice.
And, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. you know, in CRL, we always see that stat. We always hear that stat like 10 times a stream about like how much elixir did these people leak. What is your kind of philosophy on leaking elixir? Is it that big of a deal? I noticed that you did it in the in several matches, like just here and there, not a ton, but.
It just depends on cycle, honestly.
Yeah. Is it worth it, basically, sometimes, just eating a little bit of elixir in order to...
Yes, sometimes it is completely worth it. Like, if you have to wait maybe like a second to get a graveyard down, and you know they have a graveyard counter in hand, like, it can be good to, just wait on that.
Okay.
Make sure that, it's out of cycle.
Yeah. And here you go, right into another graveyard push, because you had the surviving Mega Minion, I think, from that push. But yeah. Here we go.
The Giant Skeleton down, and I'll be able to NATO everything in the Giant Skeleton bomb as well. So
yeah.
That should get pretty good value.
Another
the Lumberjack, but...
Another the power of the Giant Skeleton there. Now you just got to deal with this.
This will be a little tricky, but I should be fine. If I can get a Giant Skeleton.
As long as Ewis doesn't take off. Okay.
Nice,
there we go. Nice. And he NATOs it back, which is probably a little bit too late for him.
Yeah, he probably didn't think I was able to get my Giant Skeleton down. I could have played my Ice was there, but I knew that would have just died, so...
All right, so things are looking good here. I don't want to jinx you.
They are. Yeah, good thing that Giant Skeleton Bomb killed the baby dragon there. Maybe Ice was a splash. Nice, it did splash on the tower. So he's definitely going to golem here with this Raged Barb, especially as he's in poison range now. So, yeah. I just have to make sure.
Yeah, so GG to Hazard, pretty much. Just
pretty much.
as
I'm going to have
crazy.
to keep up the pressure. He's going to have to lightning here, but I'm just going to pull it to King Tower. Get no damage. And then, yeah, there we go.
There it is. Do you, like, a total random question, but since you just did that, GG, first of all, but since you just native that golem to the tower, is that something that you do? Why don't you do that earlier against golem? Just because of, like, the golemites and the strength of the support cards, basically?
If you do it earlier, even if you have a giant skeleton down, the support troops can just pretty much run through it and get a bunch of chip damage on the tower.
Gotcha.
It's normally a fairly good double elixir play if they have, like, a naked golem that's kind of, like, unsupported, and you just have the opportunity to. But I find that against golem, they normally get so much, like, they normally just have so much more elixir than you, so they can play it in the back and build up so much. You know, it's normally safer just to wait.
Sounds good, man. Well, let's go into match number 3 and make this a winning video.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, be right back, guys. You still got there yesterday.
Yeah.
It's weird, though.
I don't know
here we go.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're into the next match here, going against this guy.
Libinway, something like that.
Libinway. We'll go with it.
Probably butchered that.
Yeah.
Oh well.
All right. So if you don't have, do you have ice? You don't have Ice Wiz in your starting hand.
I have Ice Wiz next, but now I have it.
In Bar Barrel, is that like? I noticed that some pros cycle Bar Barrel like behind their King Tower. Some people do it in the back corner. Some people do it at the river. It's a small question, but do you just do it at the bridge to force a response out of your opponent?
Yeah, I personally like doing it at the river because most likely if they're not played, then they have a pretty awkward starting hand. So it's like if I can force something out of them and get a hit on the tower, which I did, it's just super useful.
Yeah, and he starts out with a baby dragon, so another golem deck. Yay! We actually have a really good replay for you guys, a P.E.K.K.A. balloon mirror match, which is really interesting and really an epic match that we'll show you guys after this match. So hopefully we can get another dub here. Lumberjack at the bridge. And at this point, are you just waiting him for to hopefully drop another troop, which he's obviously not?
I think I'm just going to have to NATO it anyways,
yeah,
because that's super hard to defend.
Yeah, you can't deal.
Some really good value with Rage here, but hopefully I can pull it opposite lane. I can pull the Mega Minion, but I can't pull the E-Drag, although, you know, that was fairly solid.
Yeah, you can handle it.
Nice, okay.
Okay, that was good.
I was really hoping that E-Drag would die there, which it did.
Yeah.
Super lucky.
How do you feel about E-Drag? Do you think it's, you know, do you think it needs an emergency nerf before CRL World Finals, or are you like okay with it, or how do you feel about it? Yeah.
I mean, even statistically wise, it's got like a 65% win rate, and the second closest is Barbaro with 60, and then the third is like 55, which I'm not sure which card that is, but you know, it's super solid. It fits in almost every deck. You know, you replace E-Wiz, you replace Mega Minion, you replace kind of Baby Dragon, which are already super strong cards, but you know, it's just it's crazy. Now,
what if you being a pro player, if you were in the World Finals and they didn't nerf E-Drag, which I don't see them doing, would you ban it every match, or is it that strong, or do you just like how would you go about that?
I would either play it in most of my decks. Obviously, there are some decks that beat it, or I would just ban it. You know.
Okay, so if you're not playing it, you ban it. If you're playing it, then you just wait to see what your opponent's gonna do.
Yeah, because realistically, someone's gonna want to ban it every match.
Yeah.
Or most likely.
Yeah.
It's just a very polarizing card in that sense.
Yeah. In terms of like ban card strategy, I'm just curious, is it an incredibly important, crucial strategic play for you, or is it just something that, you know, you think about, but it all really comes down to who plays the better decks?
That really just depends on the player. I mean, if you look at someone like OP Sam, for example, all of his decks benefit very well, or at least they did in CRL, benefit very well from like Fireball ban and stuff like that, because you know he loves Magic Archery, loves Three Musketeers, he loves Rascals. But for someone like me, I normally just try to catch my opponents off guard with bans, and it's like just doing something that I know they're not gonna, you know, enjoy playing and stuff.
Yeah. Well, out of all the players in CRL, would you say, just like totally an impossible question to answer, and GG there, way to go. I noticed that in that matchup, by the way, that you went aggressively like during a golem push, or after they dropped a golem to block your giant skeleton, you started going in double elixir time with just a bar barrel graveyard a couple times.
Yeah, very similar to what I did in the last match to close off the game. In the last match, obviously, it was a little bit different because the game was already over and he just had a desperation golem at the end. So I graveyarded during that. But normally when they golem, like especially if you can graveyard during it, all the support troops from the golem are just gonna kind of walk behind it, and you get an even more valuable giant skeleton NATO.
Okay. Cool. So the next one here is against. Look, I like what you put in the description. Versus an OP player who asked me not to say who he is. Was third at the time. All right, so let's watch this one. I gotta see this, man. All right, so I'm gonna press play in 3, 2, 1. Play. And going back to my question here, might be tough to answer, but whatever. Out of all the CRL players in EU and NA that you kind of you hung out with and whatever that you dealt with the whole last season, is how many of them what percentage of them would you say take bans like super seriously, and how many of them just throw it in as like a psychological ploy and they don't really care that much about it?
It really just depends on the team. I mean, you look at someone like Complexity, they have like 3-4 analysts. They're always changing up their bans. And, they're super, super interesting. And I think for us in 2v2, we did a different ban pretty much every week, and we caught a lot of teams off guard in that sense.
Okay.
Although you also look at someone like Cloud9 or whatever, who in 2v2, they banned NATO basically, they banned NATO, I think, 11 out of the 15 matches they were in.
Wow.
So,
So they just wanted to build their decks that they liked or whatever that NATO would do well against, and then they just stuck with it.
Yeah. I would say it's probably about...
Sorry.
Yeah, this guy's crazy.
I forgot this wasn't live match. I'm like, oh, be careful, Hazard.
Yeah.
All right.
No, unfortunately, the P.E.K.K.A did actually get a hit there. Although, at this point, I knew his deck because I was watching JP stream earlier. I'm JP. I'm on Fit, if you all know him. And he actually lost to this guy because he was playing Golem. So I'm sure you can imagine that was hard.
Yeah, for sure. And this is kind of a weird deck with a mirror in it and stuff, but it's still a difficult deck to deal with, especially with a freeze and mirror and balloon P.E.K.K.A. So kind of walk us through your thought process at this point in the match.
Honestly, at this point in the match, I was fairly confident. I knew he kind of had an awkward hand. He didn't really have much to play. As you can see, he's leaking a whole lot of elixir there, just trying to find what the right course of action is, which, with a deck like this where you have mirror and freeze, that kind of means you're playing with 6 cards. And, it's very tough to
I'm going to pause right here at 108 or so. You're actually mid-drop the giant skeleton on my screen.
Yes.
It looks like a floating giant skeleton how I have it right now. Very weird. But anyway, so you cycled the E-Wiz behind the King Tower there, and you're going against a P.E.K.K.A. So, what right now is going through your mind? Are you graveyarding here? Or you can't?
I don't think I'm graveyarding. I mean, I definitely could have, but he has Dark Goblin next card. Here, I'm just kind of applying pressure, because I know that if I Giant Skeleton at the bridge, he can't balloon push. And if he balloon pushes opposite lane, I can just NATO it to King Tower. And then both of my towers are pretty much even HP-wise. So honestly here, I'm pretty much chilling. I'm applying pressure when I need to, making it so he can't build that huge big push. So making sure his P.E.K.K.A goes down and stuff like that. And I think he's actually going to end up mirror P.E.K.K.A-ing here.
Oh, wow. All right, well, let's press play again. 3, 2, 1, go.
Boom.
Okay, so Giant Skeleton comes down, which is, again, kind of just, put him in an awkward situation again, because he can't support anything with a Giant Skeleton there. He can't hit the opposite lane.
Okay, yeah, and I was actually wrong there. He did NATO. As you can see, the NATO didn't really accomplish much. It just kind of allowed him to cycle to his Dark Goblin so he could defend the graveyard, which, the graveyard was fairly kind of just apply pressure. He just played Balloon. He probably doesn't have as much elixir, although he had a really good defense against that.
And you had a pretty good defense of your own.
Yeah, unfortunately the Balloon did get death damage, which is about 400 damage, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, so at this point in the match, 30 seconds left. I imagine this is a deck that you're used to going in overtime a lot with, right?
Yeah, no, you go into overtime most of the time, if not all of it.
Okay.
Just because building that one push can be super hard, especially in, tougher matchups. And there's the mirror P.E.K.K.A I was talking about. So we immediately punish with Graveyard, knowing that he only has Dark Goblin and Mega Minion. I can poison that, and this should be a fair bit of damage.
And yeah, you get a lot of damage there. Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of like his last-ditch effort. That was a super bad NATO on him. I can see why he was trying to do it. Looking at his hand, he really didn't have any other plays to make. And he kind of has to go just Balloon right into my push here, which is, unfortunate for him, but obviously good for me. I can pull the Balloon back. He double freeze there, just trying for desperation.
Yeah.
But we got him with the NATO, and then this should be right.
Yep, that was a really nice defensive stand. And I can tell now, this late into the video now, I'm starting to see how this deck is really, almost I don't want to say win in one push type deck, but it's kind of like that, where you have to just be super patient, it seems like, when you're playing it, you know?
Yeah, you just have so much defensive value. Even at this
Yeah.
point, I'm kind of making a little bit of elixir, making sure like I'm proceeding with caution.
Yeah.
You know, which is very good with like, especially when your main defense is 6 elixir and you kind of combo with the 3 elixir NATO. So that's 9 elixir you need to have for their big push. So yeah.
Well, Hazard, very, very well done. Congratulations on pushing so high with such a crazy deck. It's definitely going to be a viewer favorite, I think. It's cool seeing, I just shared a Mega Knight graveyard deck, and now it's a Giant Skeleton graveyard deck. So really cool to see these kind of a little bit unorthodox tanks paired with the graveyard. So thanks again for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was a ton of fun.
No problem. Are you going to be like, are you already, maybe you can't share, but are you already like contracted and signed for 2019 CRL, or is that kind of up in the air right now, or how does that work?
Yes, I don't know how much I can discuss of that,
Okay.
but
you
should
intend to
expect it
participate
be for season 2. Yes.
Okay, well, we'll be looking forward to seeing it. Thanks again for coming on, man. Guys, make sure you check out Hazard's player stats and profile, thanks to statsroyale.com, in the description below, along with his YouTube channel, where he streams, like, right now at least, like 6 nights a week. So go subscribe to Hazard. It's always really, really enjoyable to watch him live stream. And Haz, thanks again for coming on, man.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys, that's going to do it. Huge shout out to Bren Chong, my YouTube partner. Check out his information as well in the description below. Thank you for watching all the way till the end. And as always, take care, guys.